Hello, and welcome to another conversation about graduate school. My name is Austin Schutz, and today we're going to be talking about different forms of secondary employment during graduate school. And I am recording this right after I've just gotten off of my second job, uh, which hopefully puts me in the right mindset to be able to talk about this. And you can kind of maybe see it in my hair and in my general vibe that I am tired, but doing pretty good. So, yeah, let's talk about employment. So, I have held two different kinds of positions in graduate school, in addition to my GAship. The first one is what I would call in profession positions. So these are part time positions, working professors, either coding data or transcribing interviews. And these positions are really helpful and have a number of advantages and are things that you should consider. And we'll get into those. The second kind of job is what I would call out of profession jobs. And so these are kinds of employment that are strictly just meant really to bring money into your bank account. And I currently have one of these jobs, but I really like it. It's been really fun. I work at a pet store, and I will talk about kind of the benefits of working in a customer service or retail job. And my experiences might not be um, like entirely generalizable across the range of like customer service oriented and retail oriented jobs. But hopefully I'll have some useful things for you. So I'm going to kind of switch between talking about these two kinds of jobs. And I have three major topics for today. There are skills, socializing, and finances. And then we're going to talk about the kinds of jobs you might want to look for in graduate school and how looking for and working an additional job might be different depending on where you are as a graduate student. So, if you're in a PhD program, if you're pre-comps, post-comps, working on your PhD or dissertation, um, and some of these things will hopefully be applicable if, say, you're in a professional program or some kind of executive PhD and you are thinking about working full time during graduate school, or if you're thinking about working multiple part time jobs because you're in an MA program and you don't have a GAship. So let's start with skills. So the kinds of skills that you'll be able to get in profession jobs are going to be a lot more clear cut than they would be in the out of profession jobs. So I've held kind of three different kinds of in profession positions. These have been jobs cleaning and coding data, uh, transcribing interviews. Only had one job transcribing interviews, but it was a lot of fun. It was very interesting. And tutoring. And I am hoping to go into higher education as a professor somewhere. I'm looking for a job in higher education where I hopefully get to teach students and do some research. And so all of these positions are what I would consider in profession positions because they have hard skills that are transferable into that next job, or at least one would hope. So the data science positions were really good for me because I got to learn about coding, data management, and also technical writing. So thinking about like um, writing a code book for a data set, and also academic writing, in that these positions have generated opportunities to work on publications. So um, I have one publication from the coup data set that I helped run. I'm a co-manager of that data project. It's called the Coup Agency and Mechanism Project. And, you know, I got to co-author a paper with other people on the project. And we have another paper under review and 2 more projects that are in the pipeline. And so professionally, beyond the fact that I was able to get a bit of money out of coding the initial data set, and I've since coded additional variables for projects because these are things that I'm doing for my profession. Like that was fantastic. And so if you have opportunities to do anything with research oriented around what you want to do in your career, then there's good reasons to take that. Like, you're going to get hard transferable skills. In terms of non-profession jobs or out of profession jobs, you're also going to get kind of what I would call like periphery skills that are going to be really useful for you in whatever position that you're in. So the 2 major skills that I can think of are time management and interpersonal communication, especially professional communication. So time management, if you're working a part-time job, you really have to be on top of your schedule. And you're going to kind of be forced to be on top of your schedule. And this is something that is going to benefit you in terms of approaching research and coursework. But it's also something where if you work too much, it could easily result in you kind of not being able to focus on the things that you have to focus on in order to succeed in your program. And so you have to strike a fine balance between getting the amount of hours that you need in order to be financially stable, or as close to financially stable as we're going to be in graduate school, and being able to focus on your program. So finances, I'm actually going to skip to finances next. So those professional oriented jobs, a lot of them are the money is going to be coming through university bureaucracy. It's not going to be something where you're just getting hourly pay as you go. If you are, great. Like, that is the ideal situation, is that this has been set up. But a lot of times, you apply for a grant, and that grant money goes through the university. It's been approved, but you're waiting for the funds to get there, but you're already started on the work. And like, you're going to get paid for the work, but the work is also something that is, maybe going towards a publication. And so it might take you a while to get some of that money. And this is something that I've talked about in my finances in graduate school video, is that university bureaucracy is really slow at getting money to graduate students. And there seems to be some disconnect in how they treat grant money that is going to be funding student employment. And it can take a long time for it to get to you. And I've had professors who pay me out of their own bank account, and then when the university finally gets me the money, I pay them back. But that's going to be something that you would have to negotiate. So anytime you're dealing with one of these positions, you want to be really clear on what the compensation scheme looks like. So if it's hourly pay that you're going to be getting paid out every other week or once a month, that's great. That's the ideal scenario. If it's not, you just need to be aware that it might take a while for you to get that money. Now, finances in terms of these out of profession jobs, I work 15 hours a week at the pet store, and I get about a third of my stipend. And to be clear, there are jobs that pay more than this job does that, I was offered when I was looking for part-time work, but I picked the pet store because I get to pet dogs. So, I made a trade-off on the finances a little bit to be able to enjoy the job. And that is something that's worked out very well for me. but I feel much more financially stable having a GAship and an additional job. And I've done this with university tutoring too, where I had, regular pay that came from having a part-time job during the school year. And, it's a good feeling to be able to absorb an emergency now and then. So, for example, I totally forgot, but our university only pays us half of our stipend in August. And, you know, my and they pay us once a month. So I'm still, it's almost the end of September and I've only had that one half paycheck from the university, but it's been okay because I've had this additional source of income. So, it not that I wanted to absorb an emergency, but it feels quite good to have something as backup. And that's not something that a lot of graduate students are going to have. And this is a reason why a lot of us need part-time jobs. So, last thing that I have found really beneficial about these jobs is socialization. The in-profession jobs, I have gotten much less socialization in terms of like getting to have nice conversations with peers than I have in the in-profession jobs, and that's strictly because of the nature of the work. I love, love, love my co-authors. They're friends and mentors, and they have done a lot for me, and I like spending time with them. But I don't spend any time with them when I'm coding the data, and that is the bulk of the work. And I'm perfectly content to not really see people for days. Other than my partner, I want to see him all the time. But other people might not be, and these jobs are not, I don't want to say they're isolating, but they're not social jobs. The tutoring job was a little bit different. I did get to socialize, but it was mainly with the people that I was tutoring. And so this wasn't, you can't have, you're not making friends with people that you tutor. Like, you're friendly, obviously, but you're not going to make friends with people that you're tutoring because that would be inappropriate. Like, you're there to do a job. They're there to learn. And it's a very similar dynamic to teaching in a classroom. But working at the pet store, almost everybody that works there is right around my age. We have similar values. We all love pets. I really like my coworkers. I really, really do. And it has been nice to have some socialization outside of the profession. And that is something that you can get with regularity if you have a part-time job. So, yeah, especially after COVID. We're at the point where, COVID's not over, but we're no longer at the point where universities are shut down and we're not having classes on campus and we're not seeing people in person. And, there's a whole bunch of issues with the way that's been executed, but we'll just totally ignore those for the purposes of this conversation. But, I felt like I'd forgotten how to talk to people who weren't students or faculty members or my family on the phone. Like, just wasn't seeing people. And so this job has been really good because I feel like some interpersonal communication skills that had gotten rusty have been revived a little bit. All right, you see that my eyes are watery, and it's because I just choked on something, and I've cut that out, and you probably hear my dog in the background because she is worried and checking on me. Okay, so that's kind of the big rundown on my feelings on working jobs, is that working a second job can have some benefits in graduate school, but the obvious downside is the additional stress from having a job where you probably want to perform well. Maybe you don't. I don't know. But like I work at a pet store and I want the pets to be healthy and happy, and I like our customers and I want them to be happy. And sometimes things happen at work that stress you out that you feel bad about. And that can suck. Sometimes you might get in trouble at work now and then, and that sucks too. And those are things that can detract from what's happening in your graduate coursework, or distract you, or increase anxiety, and that can be really hard. So I'm not gonna lie and say that there aren't downsides to working a part-time job, but I'm mainly creating this video because, like, the reality is most of us are gonna have to do it, and trying to figure out what it is that you can get out of it that is going to help you long term, I think is important to being able to work these jobs without kind of maybe being a bit upset that you have to do it. I don't know. Like, I am upset about the labor conditions in graduate school for sure. But I have enjoyed getting to work at a pet store. I don't know what else to say. And you are going to learn hard skills that Aspen. I'm sorry, my dog is telling me that she really wants to be pet right now, so I'm just going to bend over and pet her. It's okay. You're okay. So I'm going to talk awkwardly in this position for a second while I pet my dog. But you are going to learn skills that are going to be helpful. And, I don't know what my professional career after this is going to be like, but I do know that there's a good chance that it is going to deal with data, quantitative data, qualitative data, interview data, and I've gotten some transferable skills how to analyze and gather that data. So that's good. And I have also gotten some skills regarding probably conflict management, because sometimes I do have upset customers, and also just like being a more clear communicator, because that communication line between management and employee can be really confusing. And when you see that, I think you realize things like, communication between faculty members or instructors and students can also be, unclear as well. And it's really easy for them to become that way. So you have to be really conscientious about how you communicate with people so that your intentions are actually carried out. And so I feel like I am better prepared for what comes after graduate school by way of having worked these positions. And so while I could certainly do with a bit more money and a bit more time for my personal life, I do think that there has been advantages of having worked while in graduate school. So there definitely are things to consider in terms of timing in your program and when it might make more sense versus when it might make less sense. My feeling is that your first year of graduate school is really hard because you're adjusting. And so if you can avoid having to work a job during that first year, for me personally, that would be my preference, or maybe just the first semester. I think I was able to not work until my second year, other than my GAship. I might have started working my second semester, but I think it was my second year. Because you're learning how to be a graduate student, and quite frankly, that's hard. That's in part why I've made these videos, because I found that transition to be hard too, and I was very afraid of what it would mean for people who were coming in a pandemic when you weren't even getting in class time, because a lot of the time that you had that wasn't directly in the classes themselves, you were learning kind of different soft skills from your professors, and those things were just not going to get translated in the same way in a completely online environment. So pre-comps, if you can avoid it, maybe the semester you take comps, I think that can be good too. So your first semester and your comp semester, I think, are good semesters to not work a second job if you can avoid it. Dissertation phase, that's completely going to vary depending on what it is you're doing for a dissertation. Obviously, if you're going to have to go do field work, then you're not going to want to work part-time. Unfortunately, the year I had secured funding for field work, the whole world shut down. But, given the opportunity, I would have tried to, I wouldn't have been able to work a second job. And that's just how it would have been. But, and I will say too, I'm applying for jobs right now, and financially I kind of have to work that second job, but I really wish I didn't, because applying for jobs feels like a job in and of itself, as does writing a dissertation, as does, being a junior teaching fellow in an honors program, which is nice because I'm just a grader. I'm kind of teaching, I'm helping to lead discussions, but it's less intense than when I've been teaching my own classes, which I also really enjoy. It's just, this is nice for a year in which I'm doing applications. But I will say that this post-comp phase is busier and more intense than it was pre-comps. And so if you can avoid working an additional job while you're doing your dissertation, that would be my recommendation. But the reality is that a lot of us are just going to have to do it. And so you're going to have to prioritize what phase of the dissertation that you're in. So I know that I've rambled, and this is a result of filming this right after getting off of work. But I hope that it's helpful for some of you in thinking about whether or not you're going to work a second job. A lot of you are probably not thinking about whether or not you're going to have to work one, but like how you're going to manage it. And I have the time management video, and so maybe that'll be helpful. The work-life balance video, but maybe it won't be. I don't know. But maybe just knowing that you're going to get something out of your job will make it a little bit more manageable too. So with that said, I'm going to stop now. I really am. And it was really nice to get to talk to all of you again. And I hope that we get to talk again soon. I had kind of stopped making these videos because I had kind of not major health issues, but health issues that needed to be resolved. And we're well down that path. So now it just kind of depends on when I have time, which, as you can probably tell, is not going to be often. But if I do, I'll try to make some more videos. And I'll try to think about, what topics might be helpful. And feel free to shoot me a message if there's something that you're thinking about. You can find me at Twitter, at ShootsAustin. Or you can leave a comment on one of these YouTube videos and I'll see it, 3 weeks later when I log into YouTube, and I'm sorry that it's taken so long. So with all that being said, have a wonderful week, and I will see you again, hopefully sooner rather than later.